Hello there and welcome back to another video. Today we have the princes of the pantheons going at it. We have Ares from the Greek pantheon, the original god of war, versus Thor from the Norse pantheon, the god of thunder. Again, being that they're within their respective mythological hierarchies fairly similar, right? They're equivalents, both being the eldest born sons, right? Not the eldest born kids in general, but being the eldest born sons of their respective king god, right? Zeus and Odin, respectively. I think this would be an interesting matchup, and I actually really like this one, especially when you consider both of their, warlike natures. Intelligence. Ares. Again, generally the general logic is Thor is considered as an idiot, right? He's not completely stupid, but he's not the smartest, the sharpest tool in the shed, so to speak. Right? Ares, again, being older, Ares is older than Thor. I think considering that, plus the fact that Ares seems to have a slightly more, he seems to be slightly more articulate. I don't know. I think overall, when you consider their overall characters, Ares is never regarded as an idiot. Sure, telling Kratos that, hey, I set up your family to get killed, yeah, not a smart thing. Outside of that, though, however, Ares is pretty damn... I mean, at the end of the day, he was able to get Pandora's box, right? Again, that's partly due to his, cosmic awareness, which will feed into the versatility later, but... Right? So I think, overall, I'd probably give it to Ares. Fighting ability and battle IQ, again, being the god of war, right? You're going to have naturally better fighting ability and battle IQ over most gods in general, right? Again, the only gods or deities that could probably have better battle IQ or fighting ability than Ares, it'd have to be like Kratos and Athena. And that'd be it. Because there's no other... Because Tyr, we don't know what Tyr's like. And from what we know, he's more of a god of diplomacy than a god of war. Because he's more seeking for peaceful resolutions rather than warlike sort of battles. So, I don't know. Overall, I would say Ares is a superior fighter. Now, strength and speed, that I can say without a doubt goes to Thor. Thor's strength is off the charts. Ares isn't a weak god by any means, nor is he a slow god. But Thor's strength and his speed, especially when he's throwing him around Mjolnir and his ability to kind of go, anyone who's played the boss battles will know Thor with Mjolnir is pretty hard to follow. I had a bit of trouble following him when he was using Mjolnir. He's that fast, right? So I'm going to say strength and speed go to Thor for sure. Durability. I've recorded this a couple of times, so I'm just kind of fast tracking it here. It's a tie. The thing is that when you stab Ares with his own protrusions, like his own tentacles, it only enrages him. It hurts him, but it pisses him off. Meanwhile, with Thor, he got stabbed with the Blades of Chaos, and it enraged him. It hurt him, right? He got hit with the Leviathan Axe, didn't really heal from it, but there's reasons related to, let's just say, I think Aether poison that Jormungandr imbued it with in God of War 2018 had a reason to play in that. So, if we were to consider, Thor has a weakness to a poison. Sure, Ares, outside of divine weapons and the power of hope, which is universally a weakness for just about every single living creature within the Greek pantheon, outside of those two things, Ares doesn't really have any weaknesses. Thor, a little bit more, but I think overall, being that they're both equivalents within their mythological hierarchies, I'd probably say they're fairly similar. In vulnerability, I'd give that to Ares. Based look at the armor on here. And this isn't Ares from God of War 1. This is a true god form. I don't know if that's even the correct term to use. But look at it, he's got armor covering his chest, his arms, his shoulders. He's got waist. And in God of War 1, if anyone's seen it, he's got armor covering his legs and his feet, right? So he's not in a traditional Greek god robe or goddess robe attire. He's got full on battle armor. Thor's got some armor, but it's again, when you look at Thor, the main large, like the majority of his upper body is not covered. His chest and his abdomen are completely exposed. So I think all things considered, I'd probably give the edge to Ares. And for anyone who's going to say, well, in this photo, Ares' abdomen is exposed. In God of War 1, his entire torso is covered. So is his arms and his shoulders. With the exception of his head, his upper body is covered. And with the exception of his upper, like his thighs, his lower body is covered. So, and of course no helmet, but Thor doesn't have that either. So all things considered, in terms of overall armor and invulnerability, I think Ares has the edge in that. Energy projection and AP, that goes to Thor. Versatility goes to Ares. So to start with energy projection. Thor's lightning is very powerful. And while I know Ares can throw fireballs and he's got a wide degree of energy projectiles, they're nowhere near as powerful as Thor's is. And especially if Thor throws Mjolnir, which is a form of energy projection, it's not even close to what Ares... I'd say it's far greater, I think, than what Ares could dish out. But in terms of the overall versatility, in terms of how many in terms of what abilities these two gods have, I don't think anyone can dispute me on this, but Ares has got far more abilities. We're talking pyrokinesis, weapon summoning, teleportation, geokinesis, the ability to control the earth pretty much, right? He can create like these gigantic pillars or volcanoes out of nothing, and then, anyone who's played the God of War 1 boss battle against Ares will know what I'm talking about. What else? He does seem to have the ability, again, to create spider protrusions, which act as additional offensive weapons. Weapon summoning gives him, again, with the hammer, gives him pyrokinesis. So he's got that. What else? And of course, the most important, arguably the most OP ability that I think any god has really shown up to this point, the ability to create your own pocket dimension and be the kind of your own capital G god of it. Again, Ares can create pocket dimensions and can have complete control and influence over everything. And yes, it is a legit dimension with universes and everything. And I think that's been confirmed by either staff who've worked on the game, or it's been confirmed within the God of War lore books. So Ares has that power. Thor, outside of flying and electrokinesis, he really doesn't have much in terms of overall abilities. Now the X Factor. Now, there's an argument you could be made for each. And that is, well, could Thor hit Ares before he taps into that black hole power? Sure. I think that is a fairly good argument to make. However, the one thing we know for certain is that at some point, Ares can and will use that black hole ability. At some point he will. And Thor, at this point, I would say, is probably more mentally weak than Kratos from God of War 1. Kratos from God of War 1 was desperate and was willing to try and forget the memories, of his past. Thor is someone who is an alcoholic, something Kratos, from what I understand, never was. However, you could say the similarity between Thor and Kratos from God of War 1 is that they're both emotionally and mentally damaged. They both were. I guess still technically are, but Thor and God of War 1 had Thor and God of War 1 Kratos have issues that they haven't gotten over yet. Ares can totally take full advantage of that in the black hole, because now could Ares know both Thrud and Sif and all the giant killings that he's done? Arguably he could. You never know. He does seem to have a fairly decent sense of the individual he's fighting. And if we were to take the God of War 1 flashback or the God of War 1 post, or the credit scene where Kratos is seeing all the fights throughout history, who knows? Ares might have that ability to do that. He might have the ability to see through Thor, be like, so, you have an emotionally abusive father, much like myself, because again, Ares and Zeus don't get along either. And you have a drinking problem, your daughter and your wife, they're sometimes ashamed of you. Okay. Ares can take full advantage of all these facts and just throw it right at Thor. And if this were to happen, in my opinion, if this were to happen, what happened to Kratos in God of War 2 in that secret credit scene where if you lose against the Sisters of Fate while on the Blade of Gods, there's a little scene. Ares kills Kratos, if you haven't seen it. It's actually very interesting, because it gives you like an alternate what if, which I might be able to cover in another video. When you consider everything, I think it could go either way. If Ares uses his black hole ability, I think Thor loses, and if Ares does not, Thor wins. So I'm going to give, for the X Factor and hacks, I'm going to give that a tie. You could say, well, Ares has aimbot, quote unquote, because Ares could arguably throw any sort of projectile, any weapon at Thor and hit him and do damage, and potentially kill him. And that is also true as well. But I don't know. It's, again, I think for the win and loss, it's going to be purely based on the black hole usage. Thor is a mentally weak individual. If Ares takes advantage of that, he's won. If not, he loses. That's simple. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Based off of what I see here, the victor is Ares by 1 point. I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with me on that one. But again, when you look at these specific parameters, Ares wins most of them. And they're tied on a lot of them. Again, being mythological or equivalent on the mythological hierarchies of the respective universes or pantheons, it makes sense that they're this well matched. I think. Right? So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I thank you for watching it. And I hope you have a good day.